I'm sorry. I can't assist with that. The air was thick with tension as Sam stood frozen, staring at the ground, unable to speak. The weight of unspoken words hung in the space between him and Emma. The silence was deafening, each heartbeat pounding in his ears. He saw Emma's face flicker with doubt and fear, her eyes darting to the darkened alleyway behind him. It felt like everything around them blurred, the world shrinking to just the two of them. "Just say it, Sam." She finally broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. A lump formed in his throat. Then, out of nowhere, a shrill scream shattered the air, followed by a crash. His heart raced. He turned sharply, eyes wide, thoughts spiraling. The sound came from the alley. Before he could think, he bolted towards it, Emma right behind him, fear driving her footsteps. They rounded the corner, and what they saw made Sam's stomach drop. A woman lay sprawled on the ground, her dress torn, blood pooling beneath her. Panic surged through him. Who was she? Why was she there? Emma gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God, no!" In that moment, Sam felt a wave of dread wash over him. He dropped to his knees beside the woman, looking for any signs of life. "Help! Someone call an ambulance!" His voice sounded distant, swallowed by the chaos. But he noticed something then. A flash of recognition washed over him. He knew her. It was Lisa, his childhood friend, a face he hadn't seen in years. The memories flooded back. Laughter, summer days, promises of forever. They had lost touch, drifted apart. But why? "Lisa!" he shouted, shaking her gently. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion sweeping across her face, but her gaze held something deeper, a flicker of betrayal. What happened? Who did this? Before Lisa could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mark, Emma's brother. Sam's blood ran cold as he took a step back, memories flooding back like a tidal wave. They had fought only weeks before over a secret that hung heavy between them. "Get away from her!" Mark thundered, his face twisted with anger and desperation. "You don't know what you're doing." "Mark, what do you mean? You're hurting her." Emma's voice trembled and Sam's heart raced. What was happening? Mark stepped forward, and in that moment, something snapped. Sam realized. The truth hit him like a freight train. "You did this. You hurt her." "Why?" Mark's face contorted with anger and fear, the shadows around them deepening. "You don't understand. You don't know what she knows." "Stop it!" Emma screamed, her voice rising above the chaos. "What's happening? Tell me!" The tension crackled like electricity in the air, heavy with unspoken words. Sam's hands trembled as he looked between Lisa and Mark. What secrets were whirling around them? What had made a monster out of a friend? In that moment, the reality of their connections began to unravel. Loyalty turned to betrayal. Fears transformed into violent truths. Sam's mind raced. He couldn't breathe. Lisa's eyes locked on Sam, and for a brief second, he saw a glimmer of hope. "You have to believe me. I didn't mean for it to go this far." But before she could continue, sirens wailed in the distance, gut-wrenching and loud. Time snapped sharply as reality rushed back. The scene was spiraling out of control. He felt every heartbeat as questions flooded him. What had Lisa known? What had Mark done? It was all spiraling too fast, like a roller coaster with no end. One thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. The sirens grew louder, echoing like a heartbeat in Sam's chest. Each passing second felt heavier. He glanced back at Lisa, lying there, eyes fluttering like she was lost in a dark haze. Mark's face twisted in turmoil, and Emma's eyes were wide. Fear etched into her features. No one seemed capable of speaking. It was as if the air itself had thickened, the world around them dissolving into shadows. "Lisa, please," Sam whispered, desperate. "Just hold on. Help's coming." But Lisa's gaze held a darker secret. Despite the blood pooling beneath her, there was something in her expression, a truth buried deep within her pain. "You has to." Her voice was barely a breath. "You have to trust me, Sam." He felt a shiver race down his spine. "Trust you? After this?" Just then, Mark stepped closer, eyes wild. "You don't get it. She was never supposed to find out." His fists were clenched, every muscle tense with rage and fear. "I was protecting us all." "Protecting us?" Emma shouted, her voice cracking. "You call this protecting?" She was trembling now, a mixture of fear and disbelief. "Mark, what does she know?" Sam's voice shook, every word a raw edge. "What did you do?" But before Mark could answer, a voice split the air, sharp as glass. "Ghent! Away from her!" All heads snapped toward the alley entrance. A stranger appeared, a man dressed in dark clothing, face hidden beneath a hoodie. Sam's heart dropped. Who was he? The man pushed forward, his eyes locked onto Mark. You think you can keep this from everyone?" "What do you mean?" Mark shouted, his anger turning to confusion. With swift movement, the stranger stepped between Sam and Lisa, kneeling beside her. "Lisa, listen to me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "What?" Sam was bewildered. "Who are you?" "Shut up!" Mark lunged forward, his rage spilling over. "Stay away from her!" But the man ignored him, focusing entirely on Lisa. "You have to tell them the truth. It was never what it seemed." His voice cracked, desperation spilling from every syllable. Lisa's eyes widened. "No, I can't. I didn't." The stranger grabbed her shoulders, shaking her gently. "You have to, before it's too late." Sam's heart raced. What the hell was going on? This man knew Lisa? "Get off her!" Mark screamed, lunging again. But this time, Sam was faster. He blocked Mark, his chest heaving. "What do you mean it wasn't supposed to happen?" The words hung in the air. The tension thickened like fog. Lisa looked at Sam, fear and regret mixed in her gaze. I tried to protect you too." Suddenly, another wave of sirens drowned out their voices. Lights flashed, illuminating the alley like a truth that can no longer be hidden. Every shadow leapt forward, exposing secrets long buried. The stranger met Sam's eyes, and in that instant, a memory sparked. A forgotten moment from years ago. "You know what's happening, don't you?" Sam's voice trembled. "You know her. This isn't just about Mark." Just then, Mark's expression shifted. It broke, revealing a glimmer of fear mixed with something darker, something sinister lurking beneath the surface. "No, no." The stranger didn't flinch. "It's time, Lisa. You have to choose." And then, just like that, Everything shattered. The night, the truth, their lives. With one devastating action, Lisa looked away, her decision clear as a blade. "Lisa!" Sam cried out, chest tightening, breath hitching. "What did you do?" But before she could respond, the sirens came crashing into their reality, and everything went dark. Sam felt the ground shift beneath him, the world tilting sideways. The uncertainty hung thick like the encroaching darkness. What had they unleashed? What truth lay buried beneath their tangled lives? And as the distance between them and the flashing lights closed in, one shocking realization gripped him. Nothing would ever be the same again. Sam felt the air thicken around him, swirling with chaos and uncertainty. The sirens grew louder, but something deeper resonated in the pit of his stomach. Everything was spinning, and all he could do was hold on to the moment, desperate for answers that felt just out of reach. "Lisa!" he cried again, watching her face twist in pain. "What do you mean you didn't?" The stranger shook his head, urgency burning in his eyes. "You have to tell him, Lisa, now!" But just as she opened her mouth, a blinding light flooded the alley, piercing through the dimness. Flashing red and blue filled the space, casting eerie shadows against the brick walls. Officers flooded in, shouting orders, but their voices blended into a muffled hum around Sam. He felt trapped, suffocated by the weight of revelation, fear mingling with disbelief. Mark was still raging. "Stay back!" He charged towards the newcomer, but Sam pushed forward, instinct pinching his chest. He had to protect Lisa, even if the truth hurt. "Mark, wait!" Sam shouted. "What's going on? Just tell me!" But Mark lunged, eyes frantic. "You don't want this. You don't want to know." The stranger stepped around Sam, still locked on Lisa. "Please, for all our sakes, don't let it end like this." And then everything changed. A shot rang out, sharp and deafening. Time froze. Mark's eyes went wide, a scream caught in his throat. Sam turned, just in time to see the bullet strike. A single powerful thud that shattered the air. Lisa's body jerked, her breath catching as reality smacked them all like a tidal wave. "Lisa!" Emma shrieked, rushing towards her friend. But Sam stood frozen, witnessing a nightmare unfold. Blood blossomed across Lisa's shirt, spreading like ink on paper. "No! No! No!" The words tumbled out of Sam, raw and panicked. Behind him, Mark crumpled, gasping. "What have I done?" His voice broke, eyes darting to the stranger, who now looked just as stunned. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." The stranger's face twisted with shock. "This isn't how it was meant to go." He reached down, grasping Lisa's hand, desperation coursing through him. "Wake up! You can't—" The chaos had reigned, and now it felt like everything was unraveling. The officers were scrambling, shouts mingling with the wails of approaching sirens. "Get down! Get down!" one of them shouted. But it was too late. The damage was already done. In that moment, a flicker of recognition hit Sam like a lightning bolt. He met the stranger's eyes, and it all clicked. A hidden connection, a dark secret he had somehow missed in all of this. "Wait, you're—" Sam's voice faltered. "You know her? You knew Lisa all along?" But the stranger's face fell. "You don't understand. I had to protect her from Mark. He—" A second shot echoed, ricocheting through the alley. Everyone ducked. But Sam felt a sting of ice-cold realization deep in his veins. Mark fell backward, eyes wide, shock settling in his gaze. No, it can't be. You were both. The truth crashed down around them as Mark's expression shifted, twisting from anger to regret, and then to fear. You don't get it. We were never supposed to be. It wasn't me. It was always— Stop, Emma yelled, her voice trembling. Stop talking. We need to get help. Lisa lay still, eyes flickering between life and oblivion. The sirens wailed, but in the eye of that chaos, time hung heavy. Sam felt his heart break as a dreadful realization gripped him. In that moment, everything made sense and nothing at all. Betrayals tangled in deceit, friendships shattered. In mere seconds, and as the darkness enveloped the alley, a single question burned in Sam's mind. Had Lisa truly been the victim? Or was it all a dark game they were too late to escape? Everything made sense, and nothing at all. Mark's expression twisted into a mask of horror. You don't know what you're doing, he yelled at the stranger. Sam felt his heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos. Words choked in his throat. Stop! Everyone just stop! Emma pleaded, her voice cracking with desperation. But the air was thick with tension. The blue and red lights flickered across their faces. Shadows dancing like ghosts. Sam turned back to Lisa, drifting, her breath shallow. Stay with me, he begged, fear curling around his heart like a vice. But then something else shifted in the atmosphere. The stranger flinched, abruptly scanning their surroundings, eyes darting, as if sensing an approaching storm. We have to get her out of here, he shouted. Now! What? Sam's voice shook. You think we can just leave? Before anyone could respond, a figure burst from the other end of the alley, a silhouette rushing toward them. Get away from her! It was a woman, wild-eyed, hair flying, a frantic energy radiating off her. Without thinking, Sam instinctively stepped closer to protect Lisa, adrenaline surging through him. Who are you? He shouted, but the words barely escaped as the woman lunged forward. Stop! Emma screamed, but it was too late. The woman crashed into the stranger, and they both tumbled onto the ground. The impact ripped through the tension, scattering it like leaves in a windstorm. Lisa! The woman cried, eyes wide with disbelief. No, not you. Sam watched as the woman's expression shifted, fury igniting her features. You did this! Don't you see? You were supposed to— Enough! Mark roared, but his voice was muffled by the sirens, drowning everything else. You don't know anything! The newcomer's face twisted in pain. You have no idea what you've unleashed. This was all a setup. What? Sam took a step back, confusion washing over him. What do you mean? The woman locked eyes with Mark. You betrayed us all. We were supposed to stay hidden. Suddenly, Lisa's fingers twitched, drawing everyone's attention to her still form. Wait, she gasped, her voice barely rising above the chaos. It's true! It was never meant to come to this. Don't! The woman shouted, but Lisa pushed through, her will fighting against the pain. Mark's eyes widened. Lisa, don't say another word! But the truth was spilling out now, like a dam breaking. You knew, Lisa whispered. You all knew, didn't you? The secret, the project, the thing we all agreed to bury. Stop! Mark commanded again, but his voice was losing its grip as everyone hung on Lisa's words. The stranger looked stricken. We were supposed to protect you, he said, voice trembling. Not let this happen. The truth shattered in the alley like glass, slicing open wounds that were never meant to see daylight. Project? Sam echoed, lost. What project? Lisa, the woman gasped, reaching for her. But Lisa's eyes were glazed, her focus slipping. Then the shocking twist hit harder than anything. I was the one who started all of it, she confessed, voice breaking. I'm the reason for all of this. That's why they needed to silence me. The world lurched, and Sam felt like he was about to fall. Betrayal hung thick in the air. What? No, he spluttered, unable to comprehend. Mark's face paled. You're lying! You don't know what you're doing! But the truth was heavy and undeniable. As sirens drew closer, Sam felt like he was spiraling into darkness, blinded by betrayal and confusion. Lisa, please, he gasped. What are you saying? A window shattered in his mind, opening to endless confusion. Just as everything began to unravel, Mark lost his footing, eyes wide in fear. You're the reason for this mess? It all circles back to you? And then, a blinding flash followed by an echoing bang. A gunshot rang out, slicing through the night like a jagged knife. Everything stopped, and in that stillness, a new reality began to form. Weaving uncertainty into every connection, the weight of 1,000 lies hung heavily as the darkness swallowed them all. What had Lisa really unleashed? What game were they all caught in? Would any of them survive the truth? The darkness closed in, leaving only questions swirling in the night air. Everything stopped. The alley wall seemed to close in, shadows bending and twisting, suffocating the moment. Sam held his breath, heart hammering. Then a sudden crack echoed again. A gunshot that stole the air from his lungs. Mark stumbled back, eyes wide, shock spreading across his face like wildfire. No, he flailed, confusion etching deep lines into his forehead. The world around him blurred. Lisa, Emma screamed, rushing to catch her friend. Her hands shook violently as she pressed them against Lisa's. Wound, blood seeping between her fingers. Stay with me. Help is coming. Tension spiked, every heartbeat thundering in Sam's ears. The stranger, still kneeling beside Lisa, was frozen, mouth agape, a storm of emotions battling in his features. This wasn't supposed to happen, he rasped, fear lacing his tone. And then a light flashed at the end of the alley, bright, blinding, almost surreal. Sam squinted, heart racing as he turned. The glow fluctuated, shifting the entire scene into a dazzling blur like a mirage, as if it were swallowing reality whole. The stranger stumbled up, eyes searching for clarity. Get her out of here, now. He moved towards Mark, pushing him aside with urgency. But before Mark could process what was happening, that light surged forward, enveloping them all. Sam blinked against the brightness, and suddenly the alley transformed. They weren't standing in the familiar grime of concrete walls. They were inside what felt like a vast, expansive room, glowing with a soft, ethereal light. Everything felt different. The air so thick it almost vibrated. What the? Sam's voice caught as reality teetered on the edge. He looked around, wide-eyed confusion spreading among the group. The stranger's face shifted. Recognition dawned. It's not possible, he whispered, almost to himself. Mark gasped. What did you do? What is this place? Sam's heart dropped. What is happening? Where are we? Lisa lay motionless, her eyes flickering under the new light, and Sam felt something twist inside him. This couldn't be happening. The sirens faded, replaced by a stillness that was too heavy, too portentous. Nothing can remain hidden now, the stranger breathed in awe, the gravity of the revelation hanging thick. The air pulsed with tension. But then the unexpected happened. A shadow formed near the edge of the room, a figure stepping from the light with a calm precision. It moved like smoke. An undulating presence that felt both familiar and foreign, sending ripples of fear through Sam. "Welcome back," the figure said, voice smooth and eerie. "It's time." Everyone turned, hearts pounding, breath hitching in their throats. The figure stepped forward, face obscured by a radiant glow. But there was something hidden in that brilliance, something sinister. "Who are you?" Emma asked, stepping protectively in front of Lisa, body trembling. "What's your connection to all of this?" Sam demanded, anger flaring, confusion twisting. The figure smiled, a chilling expression that didn't reach their eyes. "Didn't you realize? I'm the reason the project exists. The reason Lisa... the reason all of you are intertwined in this chaos." The truth cracked like a thunderclap, shattering any sense of honesty left in the air. Sam's pulse quickened, eyes darting to Lisa, who lay there, caught in a haze between lives. "Intertwined?" Mark echoed, voice trembling. "What did you do?" The figure chuckled softly, almost lovingly. "Everything you feared was just the beginning. Lisa knew too much, and now..." They stepped closer. "You all know too much." With that, the figure raised a hand, and a brilliant flash surged through the air, blinding them again. Every feeling of safety, every bond between them began to unravel. "Wait!" Sam cried, reaching out. But the light consumed him, swallowed his voice, his thoughts. Everything became dark, cold, lost, and from within the abyss, Sam could only whisper one thought. What had they really unleashed? What dark truth lay behind the veil of their tangled lives? The light swallowed Sam whole, engulfing him in a blinding haze. He felt the heat, the pulse of its brightness wrapping around him. He gasped for air, chest tightening, heart racing like a drumbeat. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light flickered, and he collapsed onto solid ground. Where was he? The air felt heavier, charged, with energy. Sam blinked rapidly, trying to focus. He was in a large room, white walls glowing, smooth and unsettling. Lisa lay nearby, but the faces around her were muddied by confusion. Mark was yelling, something about betrayal, and Emma's cries filled the air with desperation. "Stop!" Mark shouted, his voice breaking. "You don't understand anything!" But Sam wasn't listening, his attention fixated on the figure in the midst of it all. The stranger stood tall, face still cloaked in shadow, but the glow around him was menacing. Each breath felt shaky, every heartbeat loud against the silence. "Why are we here?" Sam demanded, searching the faces nearby. What did you do? Suddenly, the figure stepped forward with a graceful motion. You've been gathered here for a reason, it said, voice low and resonant. This isn't just about Lisa. What? Sam's mind raced. Just tell us what you're talking about. An overwhelming wave of dread washed over him. Was this some sick game? Some twisted joke? Before the figure could answer, Lisa groaned. The sound pierced through the tension like a pinprick in a balloon. Everyone turned, hearts tightening as her eyes fluttered open, bright against the stark white. Sam, she murmured, barely audible. I didn't mean for this to happen. You have to understand. Understand what? He asked, fear clawing at his throat. What do you know, Lisa? But as her lips moved, the weight of the moment shifted. The figures in the room began to blur, faces twisting into one another, merging like ink in water. Sam felt a rush, a whisper of history unwinding, pulling him back into shadows he hadn't wanted to revisit. You were never supposed to find out, the figure said softly, its tone chilling. But now we must face the truth. With that, the temperature dropped. Time felt frozen. A pulse of energy surged from Lisa, echoing through the air. It was as if the walls themselves were alive, vibrating with an unspeakable secret. Then, without warning, the scene shifted again, like the flick of a switch. There was a loud crack, and a deep rumble filled the space. Sam's breath hitched. Get back! Emma screamed, but it was too late. The ground erupted beneath them, sending shockwaves that knocked them off their feet. Cries of fear echoed as the walls trembled. Sam's heart raced as he grappled with the reality of it all. But from the chaos, a voice rang out, clear and anchor-like. You don't know who you've been dealing with. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face. Sam's breath caught in his throat. No, it can't be. It was James, his childhood friend, thought lost years ago. The one whose disappearance had always hung in the air. The one they had grieved. James? Sam's voice was barely a whisper. But how? Everything. James shook his head, eyes darting around. It's all connected. Lisa, she's not just a victim. It all started with her, the project. It was designed to shield us, but it spiraled out of control. What are you saying? Emma stepped forward, shaking, panic in. Her voice. Lisa, she's the key, James said, rushing the words out. She can unlock it all, but you have to trust her, or everything will fall apart. Sam looked at Lisa. Her eyes were wide, reflecting a mix of fear and something deeper, something he had never seen before. The reality of their lives flipped like a coin in midair, leaving no certainty behind. What happens if we don't? Sam asked, voice trembling. The ground quaked again beneath them. James glanced back, urgency flashing in his eyes. You really don't want to know. In that moment, everything shifted once more. A scream echoed from the shadows, merging with the chaos. A figure emerged, drenched in darkness. A silhouette of secrets and horror. Sam's heart raced. What had they unleashed? What did this mean for Lisa? For them all? And as the figure drew closer, he felt the shadows of his past closing in, the truth looming like a storm ready to break. What had they stumbled into? What game were they now a part of? The figure drew closer, shadows clinging to them like smoke. Sam's heart thudded in his chest, fear wrapping around his throat. "What do you want?" he shouted, trying to gather his voice above. "The chaos. Time is running out, and the truth can't stay buried," the figure said, voice calm yet chilling. "You think you know everything, but what you don't know could destroy you all." "What are you talking about?" Emma shouted, eyes darting between Sam and the figure. "Who are you?" But then something shifted in the air. A crackle of electricity that made the hairs on the back of Sam's neck stand up. With a swift movement, the figure drew back their hood, escaping his lips before he could swallow it back. Assumptions shattered and reality spun, making him dizzy. She stood there, looking at him with sorrow in her eyes. "Sam, she started, but he could barely breathe. "How? Why?" His hands trembled, and he felt his world flip upside down. "You disappeared years ago. You were gone. We thought you were dead." "I had to leave. I had to protect you," she said, urgency spilling from her. "This isn't what you think. None of it is." "No, stop!" Mark interrupted, panic flooding his voice. "You don't understand. What she did, it was all to keep this from happening." "But why now?" Lisa croaked, struggling to lift her head. Her voice rasped through the tension, a raw edge that cut deep. "What do you mean protect? From what?" Just then the ground trembled, and the air thickened with anticipation. Sam felt his chest tighten. Everything he thought he understood twisted like smoke. "It's all part of the project," his mother said, her gaze piercing. "What we created was bigger than all of us. I couldn't let them find you. I couldn't let them hurt you." The weight of her words crashed over him like a wave. "What you create?" he shouted, emotions crashing together. Love, betrayal, disbelief. But she turned back to Lisa, holding her gaze. "You were chosen, Lisa. You knew something that was never meant to be discovered. I had to make sure no one found out." Lisa's eyes widened with horror. "You mean the experiments? The ones that changed everything?" "It was to help," Sam's mother stammered, but doubt hung thick in the air. "They promised it would be safe." But before she could finish, another crash echoed, louder this time. A blinding light bursting through the walls of the room, consuming everything. The figure of an unknown threat glimmered at the edges, shadows stretching like sinister fingers. "Run!" the stranger yelled, pushing Sam away, eyes wide with panic. "Mom!" Sam shouted, reaching for her, desperation clawing at his heart. But she stepped back, turning towards the chaos. "No!" she cried, face twisted in panic. "You have to go! You have to protect each other!" And with that, the unknown figure lunged, the air igniting with an impossible energy. Sam's heart froze. The truth of who and what they really were spun like a cyclone around him, chaotic and frightening. Then, accompanied by the explosive sound of energy ripping through the air, everything imploded, darkness consuming the edges of reality. In that chaos, one thought pierced through. Betrayal was lurking everywhere, and now everything they thought they knew was collapsing. With a final flash of light, the room dissolved, leaving only shadows, questions hanging like ghosts in the aftermath. What was coming next, and who could they trust now? The chaos erupted as the light surged, swallowing them whole. Sam felt the ground shift beneath him. An invisible force pushing and pulling, stretching his senses to their limits. Everything blurred, colors swirling, voices merging into a cacophony of panic. "Mom!" he cried, but her face faded into the brightness. The last image he had of her was filled with fear, a horror that gripped his heart. He blinked, trying to chase away the edges of the blinding light. Darkness felt closer now, creeping in through the cracks of this strange place. Then, a sudden tug pulled on his mind, a tension that cracked through the light, pulling him away from the chaos. The world snapped into focus, and he found himself standing in a familiar living room. It was his childhood home, dust motes floating in beams of sunlight. Everything felt wrong. He turned, confusion twisting his gut. Standing there, almost as if she had stepped from a memory, was his mother, just as he remembered from years ago. "Sam, you shouldn't be here." Her voice was soft, filled with gravity, but something didn't feel right. "Mom," he gasped, rushing to her, heart pounding. "What happened?" Panic bubbled in his chest, trying to claw its way out. But as he reached her, a shadow shifted in the doorway behind her. Sam turned, seeing the figure again, the one from the alley, the one spreading chaos. But no, it wasn't just a figure. It was Lisa. "Wait," Sam's heart froze. "No, you were hurt." Lisa stood tall, but her eyes glowed with an eerie light, an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. She smiled, a disconcerting, knowing smile that twisted his stomach. "Oh, Sam, you don't understand." Her voice was smooth, but edged with something dark. A hint of a secret unspooled. "What do you mean?" He felt a lump form in his throat. "What did you do?" Suddenly, Lisa stepped forward and reached for his mother, their hands intertwining in a way that made Sam's pulse quicken. "You see, Sam, I was never just a victim. I am the reason for everything, and so are you." "What?" he stammered, each word cutting through the shock. "What are you talking about?" But before she could respond, another spiral of energy crackled through the air. The room trembled. Sam tried to take a step back, but his feet felt rooted to the floor. The lights flickered above, and then everything shattered. The very fabric of reality. A rush of colors, like a painting thrown into the wind, enveloped him again. When the whirlwind settled, he was back in the alley. But everything was different. The walls pulsed with life, shadows writhing. Mark stood frozen, eyes wide, disbelief painted across his face. Emma gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "Lisa?" Sam's voice shattered the tense silence. "What are you?" But before she could answer, the dark figure lunged, bursting through the chaos, a roar echoing in the air. "You've disappointed me, Lisa," it boomed. The sound shook the ground. Sam felt a chill creep up the back of his neck as Lisa's face twisted. Was it anger or fear? "No," she breathed, suddenly vulnerable. "You promised." Then it dawned on him, realization slapping him in the face. You're not just friends. You're connected in a way I didn't understand. I had to do what I did for us." Lisa shouted, desperation clawing at her voice. "You don't know what's at stake!" And just like that, a memory flickered through Sam's mind. something his mother had once said about a project, about bonds deeper than blood. Before he could voice the thought, the figure struck, throwing out a swirl of darkness that engulfed Lisa. She screamed, the sound cutting through him like ice. "Help her!" he shouted, reaching for her, but something heavy held him back. "Get down!" Mark yelled, pulling Emma away as the world exploded with light, drowning them all in an inferno of uncertainty. The chaos danced around them, revealing flashes of truth, but they only left Sam with more questions. What had they unleashed? And how had every single moment led to this horrific climax? And then, in the torrent of the blinding light, he felt something warm brush against his cheek, like a hand, a gentle wave of recognition before everything dimmed again. It stung in the pit of his stomach. Who was the real enemy? And who could he trust when the lines of loyalty twisted and broke like glass? As the light burst into a million colors, one thought lingered. The truth would shatter them all. The world tilted again, the shadows swirling like smoke from a dying fire. Sam felt the weight of reality crashing down, and the screams of chaos faded into whispers. Everything around him pulsed with energy, the floor vibrating beneath his feet as the figure drew closer, eyes locked on Lisa. "Stop!" Sam yelled, desperation clawing at his voice. The truth hung in the air, heavy as lead. His mom stood frozen, unable to pull away, caught between the love for her son and the horror that surrounded them. "Forget the past. This is about survival." Lisa's voice rang out, strong yet tinged with fear. "We're running out of time!" The figure's laugh echoed hollowly, sending chills shivering down Sam's spine. "Time is not on your side, Lisa. You know the truth, and that's why it must end here." "Truth? What truth?" Sam's chest tightened, his mind racing. "What did you do? What's going to happen?" "I made choices to protect you." His mother stepped forward, determination etched in her features. "You don't understand the dangers that lurk in the shadows." "Protect us from what?" Sam cried, feeling dizzy. "From the truth?" "Enough!" the figure snarled, taking a step closer, darkness swirling at their feet like a hungry whirlpool. "You all have a part to play, but I'm the one who ends this. I will not let chaos reign." With a sudden snap, Lisa stepped in front of Sam and his mother. "You'll have to go through me first. I won't let you take them." Her voice was fierce, echoes of fear and courage blending in perfect harmony. The air thickened, anticipation crackling like electricity. The ground trembled beneath them, shadows stretching wildly. "You think you can shield them?" the figure hissed, a cruel smirk twisting their lips. "You're all already tainted. You can never go back." "Shut up." Mark stepped forward, bravado flickering in his eyes. "We won't be pawns in your game anymore." As if triggered by Mark's defiance, the winds howled, swirling with fury. Sam's heart raced, each beat echoing the turmoil around them. "What do we do?" he shouted. "Somebody say something!" Suddenly, Lisa raised her hand, her voice thick with resolve. "If we can't run, we'll stand our ground. Together, no one has to face this alone." At that moment, a blinding flash erupted from her palm. Colors exploded with brilliance, illuminating the alley with dazzling light. The figure recoiled, fury etched on their face, as they realized their control was slipping. Sam felt the warmth enveloping him, protective and reassuring. "Together," he whispered, clenching Lisa's hand. "We've got this." In that splitting second, the world erupted into chaos and light. The figure shrieked, caught in the brilliance as shadows dissolved around them. As the light swallowed the dark, everything felt still, a deep silence enveloping them in a cocoon of safety. And then, in that serene moment, they blinked back into reality, standing side by side in the alley once more. The figure was gone. Lisa collapsed against Sam, breathing heavily. "Is it over?" Emma asked, her voice shaky, eyes. "Did we win?" "For now," Lisa murmured, raising her gaze to meet Sam's. "But the truth still lies beneath the surface. We can't ignore it." Mark stepped forward, guilt pooling in his eyes. "I didn't mean for things to escalate like this. We were all caught up in lies." "We were all trying to protect each other," Sam said, voice steady. "But we need to find a way to face the truth together, not apart." As Lisa whispered in agreement, they felt a connection deeper than ever. They had fought through shadows, uncertainty, and betrayal together. The air shimmered with hope, but questions still echoed in the silence. What would come next? Sam looked into the faces of his friends, knowing this wasn't the end of their journey. They would continue to uncover the truth together, lighting a very different path forward. So, as their breaths synchronized, an unspeakable bond formed, standing together in a world uncertain and terrifying, yet hopeful. They dared to venture forth. "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request." Theories about this ending? Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Don't wait another second to share. If you like stories about farmers and everyday life on the farm, and you want to know what really happens in the lives of the world's biggest farmers, the hidden stories and secrets that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now. You need to watch this now. Don't wait another second to share.